Tim, should I lean back? Should I lean forward?
Forward.
Listen, hold on. It's your world, my dude. Look at you right now. It's
And
your
turn
world.
on your mic.
You lean however you want to lean.
It's not.
Is that a lamp? Are you talking into a lamp?
Hold on. You can't hear me, eh? Hold on.
I don't think it's coming from your.
Hello.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Go check. There we go. I don't know why
it sounds like 100 times better.
Yeah.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Fellas, all I gotta say is, last time we talked, the funny thing is we have experience working in the industry, and the funniest thing ever was thinking, oh well, Shanahan's gonna talk later, but it won't be that big of a deal. Like, what did those guys ever say?
Whoopsies. Like days of our lives.
Wow. I gotta say, I was so riveted. I don't know if I've ever been as riveted by a press conference before as I was watching Brendan Shanahan just basically murder, death, kill Kyle Dubas's career in Toronto. And I got to ask you guys, I'll ask you guys first, what was your opinions watching the Shanahan press conference? Because I got to be honest, I got takes. That got me fired up. Tones, I'll start with you, man. What was your take?
I don't think it was a murder, death, kill of Kyle Dubas's career, like definitely in Toronto, but I think he kind of just sent the Leafs down a familiar path, right? Here we go. Self-implosion circa 2023. We haven't had one of these in a while, huh?
Here we go.
That was bad. That was bad. I understand why Shanahan did it. I think that's bad. It's a bad look on the Leafs. I just think you can't, like, how is the new guy going to come in and have full trust in what Shanahan's doing and what this brass is doing? And now it goes above Shanahan's head. What's going on there? It seems like the Leafs are once again a mess. And why would anybody like a Doug Armstrong want to come into that and be like, cool, I'll come in here and not only fix the team, but fix everything else going on within this organization? It's not good. I think it was a misstep on both parties. I don't think anyone was right here, and I don't think anyone was wrong. I don't know, Webby, do you agree?
My whole thing of it was, if you come for the king, you best not miss. And Dubas missed. It really, see, I kind of disagree that the person coming in now really has an idea of the power structure of the team and the organization. And that looks like Brendan Shanahan down. So you better be buddy-buddy with Brendan Shanahan if you want this job, and you better play ball with the organization. Kyle Dubas tried to think that he was bigger than the blue maple leaf on the front of the sweater, that he was the reason that all this happened. Now, is he the reason that they've had this success over the last couple of years? Well, I'm not sure. Success being, getting big-time players on the ice and making the playoffs, and in this year making the second round, which for the organization is seen as a success. But Dubas got a little big for his britches, I think, and thought that he was the man. And Brendan Shanahan, with a little bit of salt and pepper in his hair, told the young man that no, that's not how the blue on the front, the blue leaf on the front of the sweater works. So I think that this job is still prestigious enough to bring in the big names. I still think that for a job in hockey to bring the Leafs to glory is still a top job in the league. And so we'll see. But I don't think that you're going to turn anybody away more than what happened with Dubas. I think teams looking at Dubas are going to be a little more cautious now after everything that played out and what came out in that press conference. These are the Leafs. It's still top job in the NHL.
Yeah, like the reason why people will still want the job is because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Despite the failures, the Toronto Maple Leafs to hockey in terms of a brand and name recognition, what Kyle Dubas did for the last however many years in Toronto, and I'm going to say this from a viewpoint of I like Kyle Dubas. I think he did a good job. But if the Toronto Maple Leafs are who they're supposed to be, do you think the last run that they've had would have been tolerated for the Lakers? Would have been tolerated for the Yankees, would have been tolerated for these other big name organizations in North American professional sports? No, he would have been fired like 2 years ago. right? After they blew the series versus the Habs or whatever, right?
But
This is, hold on, Webby, though. One sec, though, here, because this is where things get spicy for me, right? You're Kyle Dubas. You're free to negotiate. I go on my old man rants all the time, but here's one thing, okay? You're free to do whatever you want, but it doesn't mean that people have to react how you react to it. And I feel like there's a huge lesson here, and it's so funny to watch the discourse online where people are, I've seen people tweet stuff like Kyle Dubas he opened up about his family and then he got penalized for it. It's like, no, that's not what happened. If you're Shanahan and you're now learning while watching a press conference that you said, I don't think you should do because we don't have a contract signed, and then he allowed you to do it because you asked to do it, and then you go out on TV and talk about how, well, you might not actually come back and you're not sure if you want to come back, and you're saying that publicly on TV, then come back 2 days later asking for a raise, bro, you played yourself. You tried to negotiate and you got. I don't have sympathy for Kyle Dubas because at the end of the day, your goal was to be the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you messed that up. A job that, if we're being honest, you messed up the Austin Matthews contract, only signing him to 5 years. You messed up the Mitch Marner contract, signing him to only 6 years, and signing him when he said, well, I don't want to miss training camp. The only thing I wanted to do was not miss training camp. And then you caved and signed him the day before training camp to a Mitch Marner friendly contract. Tell me how that makes sense. Then add in Willie. Willie missed half the year for his contract negotiation, then came back, had a crappy year. So that's 3 contracts, big boy contracts that Kyle Dubas messed up on top of now messing up his own contract negotiation. What did Vince McMahon say? Brett screwed Brett? Is that what Vince McMahon said? Kyle Dubas screwed Kyle Dubas. I got no sympathy for him.
You brought up two good examples. The Lakers and the Yankees. Do you think that Rob Pelinka would ever go against Jeannie Buss? Do you think that Cashman would ever go against the Steinbrenners? No. They know where their bread is buttered. And
whoa. I'm sorry, Webby. I got to cut you off. Jeannie Buss is not Brendan Shanahan. Brendan Shanahan is not the Steinbrenners. This is Brendan. What the fuck has Brendan Shanahan ever done that he's got to have the full autonomy? And then for that matter, MLSE, let's try to not get fired one day. Let's try to not cut off future employment opportunities. But what have they proven with anything outside of the 1 year with the Raptors, which we can all just assume was Kawhi Leonard? What have the
Steinbrenners done since the old man died?
Not much, for sure. 100% agree. But I'm just saying,
these are the
at
power
least they've won championships.
I'm not saying that Brendan Shanahan is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm just saying that he's a big cog of that power structure.
For sure.
And there was obviously some tension there. And when that happens and you're a young GM like Kyle Dubas, guess what? You come against that power structure, and this team has been around for a long time. There are a lot of thumbs in the pie, a lot of people who rely on the success of the team. And if you go against that power structure, you're going to end up being GM of Pittsburgh as Sidney Crosby's on the way out, and this team doesn't look like the greatest thing.
Here's the other part of this, though. There's a personal element to this, right? Brendan Shanahan took Kyle Dubas out of the suit. He took this dude out of nowhere, right? He chose Kyle Dubas over Mike Babcock, a Stanley Cup winning veteran NHL coach. He chose Kyle Dubas over Lou Lamoriello, an OG vet. And now you have the audacity to not listen, to not do the press conference after we discussed you probably shouldn't. Then you have the audacity to send me an email being like, yeah, I think I'm ready to come back now. An email, bro? What are we talking about right now? That's insane. That is complete insanity. I understand. And I think that the important part for Shanahan was to come out and lay out what happened, because if they just didn't bring Dubas back, it would just be questions among questions. What? How could you not bring him back? And here's the details. Here's what happened. Dubas has a chance to say what happened too, and he's choosing not to. I wonder why.
I think there's my question somewhere.
He has enough media buddies that he could jump on an interview, jump on a podcast and say whatever. If something Brendan Shanahan said was so egregious, but you wanted to get a raise for what? And remember, I'm a Leafs through and through supporter, all that fun stuff. but you won one playoff round, bro. This is a results business. And so what value do you bring to come and say, I want to get a raise and make Shanahan money? Come on, bro.
I think what you're saying there is it's like, and he's kind of partially to blame for this, but I think him asking for that extra money is kind of part of the culture that was built in Toronto. Hey, the core 4 guys won dick all, and they all got everything they wanted to. So if you're Kyle Dubas going, listen, I did everything in my power to make sure that these 4 guys are not only performing, but they're happy, right? We gave them everything. Now it's my time. Now I want my nut. You know what I mean? I want to be happy too. That's probably part of it, right? And again, like, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. He shot his shot and he missed, but I can see why that's part of the culture in Toronto right now. We're just, hey, everybody's getting their stuff. Why is player A getting whatever he wants, and the guy that found player A isn't getting what he wants, you know? So I think that's part of it.
So my next question, though, is how does this affect Austin Matthews going forward? We kind of touched on this last week, but now hearing kind of the commotion, I'll say, behind the scenes and what this has caused, and, you know, how does this scenario play out for Austin Matthews now? There's Frank Saravelli coming out talking about how this might affect Austin going forward. I got to be honest with you guys. If Austin Matthews doesn't want to, and I love Austin, if he doesn't want to come back because Kyle Dubas is gone, fuck you, bro.
I heard a good.
Go play in LA. Go play in the beach, wherever. I don't care, man. Get out of here.
I heard a good quote by Sportsnet employee Kipper on the radio here in Calgary, and he brought up a good point when talking about Austin Matthews. What player in the history of any sport said, "You fired the GM, I'm leaving"?
It's true.
It's
so ridiculous.
Coach is a different.
It is ridiculous.
Coach is a different thing, but I think that, again, this is a pretty big moneymaker for a lot of people, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's going to be a pretty big moneymaker for Austin Matthews, and he knows that. Set aside the contract. It's about all the extra stuff with what being the man for the Toronto Maple Leafs brings with it that you're just not going to get in Anaheim or in Phoenix. And I've talked about this. Austin doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would enjoy being anonymous for what he does on the ice. He likes being the man, and in Toronto, he's the man, and I think he knows that. So I think he's going to re-sign for big terms with the Leafs. I mean, I don't think that the GM is really going to affect that so much.
You know what I learned overall, and I'm going to tiptoe around this and probably end this conversation before I get myself in trouble.
Don't get fired.
You learned a lot that Kyle Dubas has a lot of friends in the media.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way this has been portrayed, I watched what happened and I was just like, this guy's a clown. Like, he screwed himself. But yet the way it's portrayed in the media is way more like, oh, well, we got to wait to hear the other side. Or like, well, you know, things in the background, and maybe MLSE was making all the decisions all along. And it's like, where was all this talk? Like, we never heard a peep about MLSE coming in and vetoing Kyle Dubas's decision. We never heard anything about that at all his entire tenure. Right?
Did you guys
and now it's like,
sorry, Shell. Did you guys see the Tage Thompson rumor?
I was just going to bring that. I was just going to say, talking about Tage
that was a
Thompson.
fake tweet.
What
right?
in the absolute fuck is this? This is complete bullshit.
For a fifth-round draft pick, and you're going to tell me.
I'm pretty sure that was a fake Frank Saravelli Twitter account, because I got that.
Okay. I only saw like a quote.
Yeah, I saw it too. Because I was like, yeah, the Leafs brass is going to say no to a fifth rounder for Tage Thompson. That's what you're telling me right now?
Why would the Sabres do that? That makes no sense.
Fake Frank Saravelli, not to be confused with the real Frank Saravelli, not to be confused with just the complete chaos that the Toronto media has become over the last week, which is kind of covering up, if I'm being honest, Toronto sports scene right now. Down bad right now. It's not going good. The Leafs are in chaos. The Raptors still don't have a coach. They brought in somehow Steve Nash for an interview.
Oh, he's going to be the coach of the Raptors.
Where did that come from?
Oh, that's going to happen.
Meanwhile, Nick Nurse is either a finalist for the Bucks job and the Suns job, which is like, did my guy just fail up in the Giannis or KD?
Yep.
Like, how
Sure
did
did.
that? Like, if that's not a sign of the times and the way the world works, what is going on? And plus, under the radar, I know the Jays won big yesterday, but things are not going well in Jays land either. Where's the bright spot in Toronto sports right now?
Has TFC scored a goal in the last week? I mean, I know we're not usually an MLS podcast, but if you want to keep going down the Toronto sports woeful spiral here, I don't think the TFC has scored in about a month.
To be honest, the last thing I saw from TFC was their high-priced, big-time player was dissing the coach in the post-game presser.
There you go.
Basically saying we have no
right
tactics.
For Toronto sports. That sounds about right.
Basically saying we have no tactics. We can't do it. We don't play with the love or joy. We don't know what we're doing. I'm like,
is that from the good Paisan? Was that from Paisan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Whatever he
That's
says
Serie
goes.
A.
Whatever he says goes.
Serie A still runs thick through his veins. You know, that just
Love
if
it.
you're an Italian, you're just going to do that. Get out there and throw the coach under the bus, throw the manager under the bus.
So let's do a rankings, power ranking, top five, even though there's not 5 Toronto teams.
Oh boy.
Maybe we'll come up with them. Which team is the worst right now? The Argos. Yes. Good call, Webby.
Argos.
Which Toronto team is in the best position right now? Or do we want to do which Toronto team is in the worst position right now?
I mean, I'll start with best. You want to start?
Yeah, I'll
best?
start with best.
Because
I'll nominate the Jays.
I'll say the Leafs.
Oh wow!
Because the Leafs still have Austin Matthews on their team. Okay.
Yeah.
And they made the playoffs. Okay. If I look at the Jays, well, they made the play-in game, but the wild card, but they got smoked by the Mariners, and they're in dead last in their division. Go ahead and tell me, oh yeah, but if they were in the AL Central, they'd be tied for first. Well, you know what? If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, but she don't. All right, you play in the AL East. Now, is that as bad as the Raptors, who had a chance to do big things with their roster and turn things around for a rebuild for a new season in what is looking like a pretty deep draft? And they said, nah, you know what? We'll try and make a run for 10th in the East. And how did that go?
Yeah.
So I would say Leafs, Jays, Raptors, and again, I don't know if TFC have scored here, but if they put one in the back of the net, maybe they can jump over the Raptors.
Tones?
I agree with you. I'm gonna flip 1 and 2 for one reason and one reason only. It's fucking May. It's May.
Early.
It's baseball. It's fucking random shit happens. You don't win the World Series at this early. And listen, you said they have Austin Matthews. We still got Vladdy, man, and he's not even like clicking on all cylinders yet. And wait till he gets going. I don't know, man. I'm not worried about the Jays as much as a lot of people are. I think it's baseball. You can make like 3 good trades at the deadline, and all of a sudden you're a World Series team, and that's that. I mean, yes, they got to get there, but let's be like, the division's not going to keep doing this. Let's everybody take a fucking deep breath. Their losing streaks are coming too. The Yankees have kind of already had theirs, but the Rays, give me a break. They're not winning 110
pretty good
games.
Division, though. Historically, a pretty good baseball division.
You can sneak into the wild card, and I'll take this team against a lot of teams in the AL.
Okay.
Shell, what side are you on? Webby's or mine?
Or are you going to put Raptors number 1?
It's definitely not the Raptors, bro. Come on, man. The Raptors, hold on. They were buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And missed the playoffs.
And now there's a lot of talk for that third pick.
At the trade deadline, you bring up the third pick, which is held by the Portland Trail Blazers. And at the trade deadline, or was it the All-Star break, they were a game behind the Portland Trail Blazers in the standings. So the Portland Trail Blazers just decided we're going to tank for the rest of the year. The Raptors decided we're going to try to make the playoffs and go for 6th. And instead, they missed the play-in, and the Portland Trail Blazers now have a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. That, my friends, is an institutional failure by Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors. And it pains me to say, because I love Masai, but the Raptors are down bad. They're going to get screwed in this coaching search. So the Raptors are definitely not on top of the list. It's still the Leafs because they still have all their guys as of now. The Jays, I think they traded defense for offense, but I think they might have gone a little too far because their offense, I mean, last night being the outlier, putting up a 20s piece. But outside of that, their offense has struggled. And I don't think that you can really, you're not going to hang with the Yankees. You're not going to hang. I mean, and Tampa does what Tampa does better than what you're trying to do as of now. So that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough in that division. So yeah, I'm going, the Raptors are in third. It's going Leafs, Jays, Raptors. Like, do the Raptors have anyone better than Vladdy or Bo?
No.
Not even close.
No way.
Oh,
Did
man,
the
this is
Toronto
making me sad.
Argonauts win the CFL title last year? Did they win the Grey Cup?
You mean the Grey Cup? It's the CFL title.
CFL title. I straight up blanked.
This guy
Who
said
cares?
the CFL title.
I honestly, I couldn't tell you.
The Canadian Super Bowl.
Did they win the sporting event?
It's
Hold on,
sad.
let
I
me look it
couldn't
up.
tell you who won the Grey Cup last year.
I mean, it was the Argos.
Oh, we got to bump the
They're not
Argos
even
up.
top three.
Hey,
gotta bump 'em up.
Gotta move the Argos up the list. The Argos, hey, they got new uniforms too. I saw on Twitter yesterday. Hey, Argos moving up. They're
Hey.
pushing for Masai. Better
Pinball.
watch out. Masai
Hey,
better
Pinball
watch
close
out.
to the team. You're good.
Argo, fuck yourself. Just remember that.
I used to get so drunk at Argos games when they played at the Dome. I used to go get free tickets and get absolutely fucking wasted with buddies. And then I'd have this big blue Vuvuzela. Remember the Vuvuzelas from the World Cup?
Fuck.
So I'd be blowing
That's a
that
good impression.
motherfucker. And then after I would find the band. You know the band that plays with the Argo? There's like 12 people, and they got instruments and everything. And I would go and find them, and then I'd start playing with them with the Vuvuzela. I used to love going to Argos games, man.
They need you at BMO, man. They need
Yeah, I
you
was
at
gonna
BMO.
say, number one Argos fan, Andrew Webster over
Hey,
here.
listen, it was good. I was getting tickets for free. Why not?
Back in the day, and while we reminisce, I guess a question to ask here, Mike Malone's going to be mad at me, but is LeBron really retiring?
No.
No. Is he going to get
going
traded
out like
to the
that.
Warriors?
I'm just posing the
God.
hey, the man posed the question. He made it seem like he might retire.
Yeah,
Should we be taking
LeBron.
LeBron seriously? Tones.
It's LeBron, man. Come on. He's been doing he's 20 years in the league. We've been hearing this now. You want to talk about somebody who knows how to control the media narrative. There's somebody who's hooked into media, man. Like LeBron is so funny because he's such a great player. But I find that like in front of the camera or when he's doing this media manipulation, it's really transparent. Do you really think that LeBron James is going to retire in the offseason? Hell no. Like he said, he's still one of the top 10 players in the league. Why would he retire?
You know, it's funny. It's like Michael Malone, pardon me, throughout the whole series was just complaining about how the narrative is all about the Lakers. They win game one and everyone's like, the Lakers will be fine because Rui can guard Jokic. Right? They win game two and it's like, Lakers going home. Lakers will be fine. And he's like, nobody's talking about Jokic putting up like crazy triple doubles in the conference finals.
Chamberlain numbers.
Yeah, we're here talking about the Lakers. And so they end up sweeping the Lakers, despite the fact that the refs were on the most amount of fuckery in game four, trying to hand the Lakers a game. Yeah. Denver still wins. And then LeBron turns into the Usher meme of being like, oh, you think now they're going to talk about the Nuggets? Watch this. Watch this. I might retire. I think that's a chef's kiss, a masterpiece move by LeBron James, just showing like, I'm him no matter what. I'm the NBA logo. As I go, that's where the storylines go. That's where the narratives go. And I love like all the little sneak disses that he did in his presser talking about, it's a conference finals. Like I made a lot of these, right? Like it just like downplaying everything about, it doesn't really matter. Like everything is about LeBron James. He sucked through the ether of everything else that is the NBA, including a performance from Nikola Jokic that we haven't seen in the NBA in a very, like, I don't know. What are we comparing this to? What we're seeing from Jokic?
I mean, like I say, I'd say it's Will Chamberlain numbers. Like the numbers are just absolutely insane. And he is kind of the anti-LeBron when it comes to this stuff, you know? After they win, all I see on my feed is that, oh, you know what? Embiid really did deserve the MVP. I think he was awesome this season. You know, it's not, I took down the king, bring on the Celtics or the Heat. That's just not who Jokic is. And it's so funny because there is another big star out there that we've talked about who puts up big numbers, who has then gotten himself in trouble very recently. There are a lot of guys in professional sports, whether it be NBA or hockey or whatever, that once the numbers, once the performances, once the accolades start, then the head starts to get a little bit bigger. But it doesn't even, and I won't even say that it's a European thing because we've seen it with Luka as well. But Jokic seems to be immune to that. It's so weird. And I guess I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's very different to see an NBA player with that kind of command on the court, then kind of take a step back when it comes to podium stuff and be very, oh, you know, it's whatever. Hey, you know, like we played well, give it to my teammates. We're on to the night, head down, you know?
Yeah. Tones, I want to ask you something. I know you enjoy the NBA, right?
Yeah.
And I like finding out like the gauge of what ends up crossing over very mainstream in terms of how we discuss this stuff, right? And there's a lot of talk about, will people care about a Denver versus Heat final? I want to ask you something from a GTA standpoint. Jamal Murray and what he's doing, what does that mean? Like, how big of a deal is that in terms of from a Toronto sports scene, a GTA, Canadian sports scene? What Jamal Murray is doing right now, what does that mean to you just as a sports fan from the city?
You know what? And bear with me on this, okay? I don't think it matters or it will make the biggest waves that much. Why? Because Canada basketball has been arrived. Like, it's been here for a while. Like, this shouldn't be surprising anymore. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was arguably one of my favorite players to watch in the league this season, bar none. Like, he was unbelievable, okay? Huge fan. Every Raptors fan knows, like, you know, he's been in the trade rumors for three years. Kiss that one goodbye. Jamal Murray's been doing this, obviously not at this level and not at this stage, and I'm extremely happy to see it. And, like, it's crazy that there's some people being like I saw one tweet last night or the other night that was like, I can't, it was like his post-game line with him in an interview, and they're like, I can't believe this guy's like their second option. And I'm like, man, he's been good for so long. And yes, he's fought injuries and all that kind of stuff. And I just think this has been the whole, and I said it last week, like, it's crazy that people are like surprised the Nuggets are good. And it's like, man, does everybody just watch the same 5 teams every single season throughout the whole year? And that's pretty much it. Like, not that I'm any better, but like, man, I know Nikola Jokic is incredible. I know Jamal Murray is really good. I know Shai is really good. Like, Canada basketball has been here and done that. And the more that win titles, I think this is just the beginning. I really do. Like, I think they're probably going to win it. Him going toe-to-toe with Jimmy Butler, there's going to be maybe a couple games there. I imagine that's going to be a deep series where maybe they're just trading blows back and forth. And maybe that's his big I've arrived moment. But I don't know. For a lot of us up here, I think it's been there, you know? Yeah,
Webby, what would 2 years in a row as Wiggins won a championship last year, Jamal Murray's able to follow that up. This is like and Shai being what, top? He was all NBA, right? Shai made all NBA this year.
I think first team, wasn't he?
No, not first team. I think he made
second
third.
Second team.
Really?
Either way, first all NBA player, Canadian player since Steve Nash, obviously. But this moment in time, we talk about the golden age of Canada basketball. They're here, right? Like, we got the World Cup, the men's World Cup of basketball coming up the end of this summer. And it's like, as a basketball fan, as we watch how the media has covered it for how long, and now seeing where you have Canadians consistently, not just being on the team, but being key cogs in championship NBA teams, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And Jamal Murray, man, I just love that he wants to smoke, right? That's the biggest thing ever. He's not afraid of the moment. Hitting those big time shots, was it in game 3? And then turning to Mike Breen and pointing, bang. That's some of the most gangster shit I've seen in the playoffs. Like, that is so incredible. That's on your all-time highlight mixtape. Hitting a massive shot and then pointing at Mike Breen, knowing that he's saying bang on the broad. Come on, man. That shit is just awesome.
SJ was first team.
He was first team All NBA.
First team All NBA.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll tell you where it starts, okay? Yeah, it's awesome to see this come to fruition in the NBA, but these guys aren't going to Carleton. They're not going to UBC. They're not even going Div 1, Div 2, or Div 3. Teams like Kentucky, teams like Kansas are doing their recruiting in Canada. They've opened up the border to bring them into that talent factory that they have of making the league. And that was happening, 5-10 years ago now, that started opening up the recruiting. And you're seeing the fruits of that labor pay off with these Canadians making their way into the league and having continued success. So, like, I think Tone put it a great way. Like, Canada basketball's been here. Like, they're second, third best team in the world right now.
Yeah.
I mean, who other than the States would you put above the Canadian national team? I guess. I mean, Luka's on Slovenia.
We're going to find out this summer, man.
Yeah.
We're literally going to find out this summer. I just think it's been amazing to watch. The NBA playoffs have been great. We know the Celtics, don't let them get one. Well, they got one. Anyone buying the Celtics' chances of coming back here?
Are we going to get a bloody sock moment, or if one city knows what it's like to do this, it's Boston, right? But no, what we need is a Jimmy Butler decapitation game, where Jimmy Butler, what was the guy in Mortal Kombat, Kano? He'd reach into your chest and pull your heart out. That's what he needs to do next game. That's what I want to see him do to Tatum. Put the clamps on him and drop 40, and let's go home. Because I want to see Heat Nuggets. I mean,
it's going to be good.
The two best players in the playoffs. Let's put them on the same court for 7 games.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets roll that, though.
Like you do,
roll, We talk about how well that team is set up in terms of Jokic and Murray. Those guys are great, but it's about your Bruce Browns, your Jeff Greens. Those guys are a little bit stronger than your Gabe Vincents and your Cody Zellers, who I always love to see Cody Zeller out there with the pushback hairline, just making it happen.
Cody Zeller getting minutes, doing work. Celtics should be embarrassed. Also should be embarrassed. I like that we carved out enough room to talk about this, because I really want to dig into Succession, man. Succession, that last episode of Succession, the funeral episode, we've been waiting for it for a while. You knew it was coming. You knew it was going to be an ultimate banger. But it was also, we didn't really know that it would be the Roman episode, but it was the Roman episode, you could say. What did you guys make of it? Tones, I want to start with you, because I want to ask you, when you saw Roman walking around practicing his funeral speech there, how hyped up did that make you for the rest of the episode?
Part of me was thinking the whole time, I'm like, is this his actual speech, or is he just being Roman? You know what I mean? Is it the speech and then he's throwing his Romanisms in there? You know what I mean? You could kind of tell, I don't know, I was mad at myself for not predicting it as I was watching that scene, going oh my God, he's about to crash and burn. I've been waiting for the Kendall episode, right? I've been saying it on this pod. I've been waiting for his moment, and I think it's still coming, but he kind of had part A of that moment in this episode. So it kind of if you kind of just, at the hindsight's 2020, but you look back and you're like, oh, right, Roman's the one that's emotionally fucked up more than any of them. Roman would be the guy. And man, how about the acting of him just seeing is he in there? Oh my God. I mean, Jesus Christ, what an absolute freak of an actor. And then seeing the rise of Kendall coming in and saving the day, I thought was we should have known, right? Because Roman's the most fucked up by far. And he's not going to be able to handle these things. The guy can't even sit on a chair normally. You know what I mean? This guy's a total, he's definitely got some parent issues, especially with his dad. They all do, but him more than anybody, it seems like he's been the most affected. But big takeaway from this episode for me was Kendall is growing into the guy that he wants to become. Is he not? And maybe that's all going to come crashing in the series finale here. But I'm starting to see it a little bit, right? I'm starting to see him play the game a little bit better. And we're starting to see him actually make the right moves. And maybe this whole thing isn't the right move, but we're going to find out. But I don't know. I'm starting to see the CEO in there. I'm starting to see it for the first time ever.
I kind of disagree that this was the Kendall episode. To me, this was the generational trauma episode,
Right.
where we saw Logan's impact on these kids, now adults. And there was a really small moment when they go to visit that mausoleum where Logan's going to be put to rest. And there were 4 other slots for the kids. Like, he's already dragged them down. Like, it's over for all 4 of these kids. There's no, like I've been saying, I don't think there's any winning this game of Succession, because I think they've already lost because of what Logan has passed down on them. Now, we got that great story from his brother about how the trauma was inflicted upon Logan, and then that now being passed down to the kids. So, I mean, yeah, we're seeing our Kendall kind of sell his soul, as it were, you know, and bringing his posse, consolidating his power to really step into the role that Logan had. And we also saw the effect of Logan's thumb on Roman, because Roman at the end of the episode needed to get like physically assaulted, to get punched in the face to feel anything like he got from his dad, who was obviously physical with Roman, which we've seen in the series before.
Yeah.
So I don't think there were many winners of this. You know, I think it's already cooked for all 4 of these guys. And the other one was, you want to talk about generational trauma, that scene of Shiv and her mom, where they don't even say anything about the pregnancy, and it's just you're okay? Yeah. Just that said so much, rather than really getting into a big fight. It was incredible, but it shows how much you can fuck up your kids as parents, which terrifies me.
Yeah, same.
There's so many epic scenes just from that, and you add in when the mom goes and gets what's Mistress Carrie,
God,
new guy.
Awesome.
Carrie.
That was awesome.
And brings her up and introduces her with Marsha, and like, hey, this was my Carrie. I was like, whoa, what is this show is just so good, man. Like, storytelling is so epic. And, you know, you mentioned the actors, such a great, incredible acting performance. But when you get great performances that match up with great acting, great acting performances that match up with great writing. And like, this show's about storytelling, right? And no one's really, you know, it's not like some crazy action scenes or anything like that. It's just great dialogue that makes you feel so much. Like, I've been talking to you guys for weeks about how much of a douche Roman is and how annoying as fuck he is. In the last 2 episodes, we've seen him be his same annoying self, but with super, super, super serious topics. And now it doesn't become as funny when he's talking about, you know, bringing in this Trumpian person into the presidency, or when my guy's sitting in the car, his sister's telling him, hey guys, I'm pregnant. And you're continuing to make jokes about jerking off to your sister breastfeeding.
So good.
Is it mine?
Good.
I was
so good. I was laughing so hard.
I was dying.
I was like, this guy's such a fucking clown, right? But it's such a straight, just fake tough guy, overcompensating for his insecurity, right? Like,
he's in Arrested Development. He's never grown up. He's still the kid. You know, he's sitting on the ground when he gets upset. He can't handle his dad in the casket. Like, he's not, to borrow a phrase, a real person. You know?
Facts.
So he's off the board. We kind of know Connor's not a real person. So I think this last episode is going to show us how Kendall and or Shiv aren't real people too. Because I got a feeling this Mattson character isn't going to name Shiv this American CEO. I got a sneaking suspicion that ain't going to happen.
Mattson's definitely having a moment here. Like, Mattson's been like the puppet in the last like 4 episodes, or like kind of just being like, you know what I mean? Like, working too well with Shiv and working like him kissing ass to the president. I'm like, that's not the guy that we've been introduced to. Like, he would tell this guy to fuck. Oh my God. What was the line he said? What do you stand for? Privacy, pussy, pasta. I was like, yes, it's my dude.
On a narco-capitalist Parmigiana. That was fucking awesome.
So good.
So good. One of the best things that I took away from this episode, and it's nothing to do with characters, nothing to do with like writing, nothing, but this is just like, and you guys as TV and former TV people like can probably appreciate this, but the shot changes kind of in between scenes of where they go, hey, here's this chaos happening in the street. Everyone's losing their minds. And then smash cut into this like ivory tower party where they're like handing around champagne and caviar. I think they did that really on purpose. They did it like 3 or 4 times where it was like chaos, chaos, chaos. And then boom, quick smash cut into like this quiet room with a bunch of, I just like, I don't know. I took note of that. And like, given everything we've all gone through in the last like 3 years in this world, it's like, yeah, that probably was exactly how it felt. Like we thought all these people like, they gotta do something. And they're like, they don't give a fuck. Like they just don't.
Yeah. It's a genius of how the world that's been created by this, showrunner, director, writer, just how like it's his take on rich society, right? And the super rich, and just how these people are the real power brokers, but they're also douchebags. Right. And so like they're in their own bubble away from the rest of the world, and their decisions impact the rest of the world while they get to sit in their ivory towers living their lives
and not feel the consequence of any of the decisions that they've made.
And then that's what makes it so interesting, right? Because you're watching Roman. This is why to me it was a Roman episode, right? Because I'm hating him, and he's the worst. And then as soon as he starts to break down, you're like, oh man, I feel sorry for this guy. And I caught myself in the moment, like, how did I just go from these extremes from like hating this guy to like wanting to give this guy a hug, right? Like that was such great acting. It was so incredible. Just the range that this show has from being able to take you from one emotion to the next in like 30 seconds and then laughing your ass off the next second when they're doing, as you said, the smash cuts, and the way that the show is shot is so brilliant as well. Just I remember early on this season we were talking about people ranking the HBO shows, right? The HBO world, whether you're talking about this show or The Last of Us or White Lotus, like all the recent kind of HBO shows, and where those rank in the Patreon of like Sopranos and The Wire and that stuff. And I was like, nah, man, people are trying to throw Succession in there and it's too much. They're doing too much. It's not that type of show. And then this season, man,
I think
they've knocked this shit out of the park. And I'm sitting here like, maybe I was wrong.
I think it's knocked Thrones off. And honestly, I think it's knocked Breaking Bad off too. I mean, this is probably, I would say this is number 4 for me, going Sopranos, Wire, Mad Men, and Succession.
Okay. I mean, it's, I want to see. They haven't hit the.
You gotta land the plane. You gotta land the plane.
We gotta see how the ending, because the ending is big. You can't mess up the ending.
But even for them to pass Thrones, they've already surpassed it in the last. Like the whole last season of Thrones was a total shit show, right? Like even if this last, 3, if you really want to get deep into it, but like even if this last episode isn't like
Thrones ending as much as everyone else did.
Oh, whoa, really? Oh, that
I didn't hate it as much as I was entertained.
You have an hour? Laughed. You got an hour?
Hold on. How far deep are we into this pod here? We can unpack this one for a fucking week if we want.
We'll do that. Man. We'll do that in the summer for sure. But no, sorry, Tones. I interrupted you, man. My bad.
No. It's okay. I pretty much said what I needed to say. Like, it's just like, like even if the last episode of Succession like doesn't really like hit at the very end, like what Webby's saying, like I'm sure there's going to be some people, if they don't actually like have a successor and like so-and-so won the show, which is probably what's going to happen, where they just don't actually have somebody specifically winning, but like people won't get that it's not that type of show. And I don't even care, because the 9 episodes leading up have been so unbelievable. Like I finished the last episode. I'm like, I think I got to rewatch this whole season again before the last episode, because it's just been that good. I just want to relive some of this stuff and like see if I can notice like little looks, little glances going into that last episode. It's ahead of Thrones for me for sure. I agree 100% with Webby.
The one thing I will say, too, that I love about Succession is how deep the bench is. Like, Madsen, the Skarsgård's been so good this season. The guy who plays Mencken is unreal and terrifying. But how about just, James Cromwell? Yeah, one of the best living actors we have. Come on up and give one of the best monologues in the show's history.
Right.
Just for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
Like, he's so good. And for that show, for Jesse Armstrong, that showrunner, writer, to be able to be like, hey, yeah, we need you. Let's bring in the righty off the bench. We need you for 10 minutes. And him to be like, 100%. The show's dope.
Well, even the fact that Brian Cox, who obviously was like the front man of the show, to not be on the show for the majority of the final season, and they're still banging out home runs.
Yeah.
That's insane. How many shows could do that, right? Take out the main character for basically half your final season, and we're all still sitting here like, this shit is incredible. It's well done. I have one request. I have one request, and I'm hoping that this doesn't. All I need from the Succession finale. This is the only thing. If this happens, I will be so cheesed, and they will have ruined the whole thing if this happens. Just don't make Greg win. Don't make Greg the successor.
I kind of agree.
I don't know if he's gonna be. I don't know if he's gonna be winning, but I think that Greg is going to be the American CEO that Madsen picked.
This is what I'm saying. No, that will ruin everything. That's what I mean. They can't do that.
No, Timmy just said it too.
The show.
Timmy just said it. He got front spot. He got front wheelman spot on the. He's been playing everybody, dude. He ripped Shiv's head off in the last episode, and then there was a moment in this episode where she looked at him and she looked at the mom's new husband about who's going to be wheelman.
Peter.
She was like, "Not you, Peter, but you, Greg." Even after you totally shanked me in the last episode, Greg. I hate to say it, Shelly, but I think Greg's going to be your American CEO.
I like how relentless he is. Like, Greg was just like, yo, give me an intro. I just need an intro.
Greg the Egg has no shame. He'll drink things that aren't meant to be drinks.
What did Madsen call him when he saw him too?
Hey, handsome.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, that's such a great call by you, Webby. That's such a good call, because that's like such a subtle thing that you might miss in all the grand monologues and all the speeches and something. Because like, until you said it, I was like, oh my god, yeah, that happened. And now it's all making shell. I'm sorry, bro. You might be
so mad.
You might be so mad.
Madsen loves Greg. Madsen loves Greg. You thought Tom loved Greg. Madsen loves Greg.
Oh,
Tom's screwed, so I'm okay with that. Tom's screwed, so
Tom's just tired, man. Poor guy. Tom's just exhausted. Guy's been living on cocaine and spaghetti and olive oil for the last 4 or 5 days. Like, it catches up to you, man.
That's incredible. I got nothing. That's so good.
That's good.
I love it. What's the next one? What's the next show? Do you know what is coming? Hold on. You know what is coming out that I saw previews for? And it's not a show, but it's like a documentary series about the sororities at Alabama.
Yeah, I just watched that trailer. That looks so good.
Man.
Dude, that looks so good.
I am in 100%. I am in. It looks terrifying.
It looks
I'm shaking
so
my
scary.
head. I'm shaking my head because I know I will hate watch that show.
Oh, Shelly, you're going to watch it. I know you are.
You know what I was watching? What I have to watch? My girl Ariana. No, you guys aren't up on Scandival, so I got to get Simon on here.
Excuse me? I'm not up on Scandival? Oh! We got reunion tonight. 3-part reunion, bro.
Is Raquel showing up to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's there.
You mean Rachel?
We'll be talking about that next week for sure. Scandival. I had someone message me on Twitter actually from the Challenge Pod, someone that watches my Challenge Pod. They're like, okay, I know you haven't done the Challenge Pod in a while, but I really need your Scandival takes. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what? For real? I'm like, you know me so well. You know what? The audience knows you so well. I'm like, you know I got takes. Can't wait.
There's nothing that makes my wife madder at me when I go, why are they being so mean to Raquel? I mean, why are they slut shaming Raquel? Like, they're just so mean to her, and she just gets the blood pressure I see just starts rising.
Webby, I'm with you. I'm just like, why is everyone against Raquel for? What'd she do?
They all do this.
Yes.
It's Vanderpump Rules. They're all banging each other. They just don't like Raquel because she's pretty.
Oh, it's so good. I can't wait for next week. That's a tease.
Listen, that's a good reminder. I gotta record it tonight.
That shit's permanently scheduled.
Record.
Yeah, that's permanently scheduled. New episodes on my PVR, bro. Toads is like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
You're not in on VPR?
I got nothing, bro. I got nothing.
You're not in on VPR?
I've been this whole time, I swear to God, this whole time I've been sitting here like, okay, let's see if I can figure out what the fuck this show is called. You know? What's it? Is it Vanderpump? Is this
Vanderpump Rules? Yeah.
My TikTok.
I knew it wasn't Raquel. Whatever the fuck. Okay, I haven't watched it. I think my wife watches that show, but I haven't watched it.
My TikTok FYP, my For You page, is all Succession, Vanderpump, and then tits.
Yeah, naturally.